In this video, I'm going to show you how to calculate profit margin for a product you're either already selling or you're thinking about launching. This is the most important calculation you will make as a business owner, because if you get it wrong, you won't just lose money, you might actually sell yourself right out of business. Businesses don't fail because their logo is the wrong color or they use the wrong email platform. They fail because they simply spend more money than they make. And oftentimes this can be traced all the way back to weak profit margins. We'll be using the SOLID STRAT Margin Calculator, which is a spreadsheet that I developed. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I've been selling physical products online for about 15 years. I've actually been using this spreadsheet for about a decade and a half, and it is how I have calculated the margin on every single product I've ever sold. I still reference this sheet weekly because I'm often either adding new products to it or I'm reconfiguring existing products for various reasons. So I can't stress enough just how important and valuable this sheet has been to me and my business, and I actually credit it as a big part of the reason that we have continued to grow and thrive over the years. Let's just bring the spreadsheet up here. It would take you a while to do so, but you could probably recreate the spreadsheet on your own, especially if you have experience using Excel or Google Sheets. However, your time is definitely worth money, and depending on how much you value your time, it might actually just be cheaper for you to pay for a download on our site, which is solidstrat.co. I will link that in the description. But even if you don't buy or make the sheet, you should watch this video, because being able to properly think through margin calculations is a critical skill for entrepreneurs, and I will be teaching you that for free in this video. Okay, so I have my sheet up in here, and the first thing I'm going to do is just show you the product that I will be calculating the margin for. It is a real product, one that I sell. I've been selling for many years. Let me just switch the camera here one more time. So it's this apple pie moonshine spice mix. This is a really cool product that I made probably, 15 years ago now. And it's just a tin full of spices. If you are starting, you could, try to duplicate this product. If you are starting a business or already have one, I wouldn't recommend that you do one. This is not a huge seller for us. The margin's okay, but we just don't move a lot. There's not a huge demand for this. But hey, feel free. I'm not going to give you the exact recipe. The ingredients are listed right on the back of the tin. So, if you buy some, you could figure out what's in it anyway. The first thing that we will be looking at here is the top of the spreadsheet. So we have name, description, UPC, MPN, and product listing. You might be tempted to skip over this section, especially if you're just starting out. I would recommend that you not, because while you may only have one or two products right now, fast forward 10 or 15 years from now, hopefully you'll have dozens or hundreds or even thousands of products, and you want to be able to keep them organized. So I always recommend that you actually take the time to fill this out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll back up one second. Say you buy this calculator from our site, you may have to, this shouldn't be the case, but you may have to click File and make a copy if you find that you can't edit anything in this sheet. So hopefully that's not the case, but it may be, and if that is the case, just do that. So I'm going to fill this out here, starting with the name. So I'm going to call it Pie Moonshine Spice Mix. Okay, so this is going to be a single tin, and it is the 2 ounce. That's actually a 4 ounce tin, but it's a single tin, 4 ounce. Okay, I'll go into a little bit more of the detail there in a few. The next thing here is the UPC. Now let's change the camera one more time. So you can see there is an actual barcode and a UPC on the back of this tin. You don't actually have to put a UPC on your tin if you're just selling it on your own site, or you have like a booth at a farmer's market or something like that. If you're selling on Amazon though, which this product is sold on Amazon, you have to have a barcode and a UPC code. I'm going to do another video on just that, but for now, I'll say that I do have a UPC code for this, and I am going to go ahead and just type it in here. So it's a 10-digit number, 009539844. All right, so MPN is the manufacturer's part number. This is something that it's unique to your business, and this will come up again in the sheet. CHS.A1, and then the web address. Okay, I'm going to grab this link from another window here. So I paste it in there. Like I said, there are a number of ingredients in this product, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add them line by line so you can see how you would go about doing this for a product that you're making yourself. So let's just start here. I'm going to put my first ingredient is cinnamon, and so sometimes you may end up with an MPN for your part numbers if your product is maybe a collection of stuff that you sell with MPNs. I don't have an MPN for cinnamon. I just buy that in bulk, so that's just going to stay the same. But I am going to be using two different types of cinnamon, or I do use two different types of cinnamon in this product. I use sticks and I use chunks. So this is going to be sticks, the line for that. So the quantity here is going to be ounces. So what I've kind of done, or I've had to do in the background, is convert my cost per pound of ingredients that I've bought into my cost per ounces. So my unit cost for my cinnamon sticks works out to be about $2.31 per ounce. So if you wanted to, you could even change this, and I'll show you what happens if you try to do that. Dollars per OZ. So it's going to give you an error here that says, hey, heads up, you're trying to edit part of the sheet that shouldn't be changed accidentally. Edit anyway or no. If you mean to edit a cell, then just hit OK. If you see this and you weren't actively trying to edit something, just go ahead and hit cancel. That's just to kind of protect the integrity of some of the calculations in the sheet. But I did mean to do that, so I'm changing this to dollars per ounce. So it cost me $2.31 per ounce, and I have roughly half an ounce in this kit. So you'll notice the second thing that kind of was something that really wasn't expected here is it changed my 0.5 to 1. And generally, I feel like most people are just going to be using whole numbers for the quantity, so it's set up like that. But in this situation, we're not going to be doing that. So let's just go ahead and select all these cells. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Let's highlight all of these cells, and I'm going to show you how to change this. So we're going to hit Format after we have highlighted them. We're going to do Number, and we have, it's already just a plain number. And then we're going to scroll down to Custom Number Format. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go 0.000 because we're going to be putting in quite a small amount of some of these ingredients. And just to give you an idea of how I've actually done this, let me just open this tin up for you here. There we go. So what I literally did when I created this sheet was I came up with the ingredients, and I actually did dozens and dozens of test batches. And then once I was done with that, I used something like this, a little digital scale, which allowed me to weigh the contents. And then I wrote those down, and those are the numbers that we're going to be putting in the sheet here. All right, the next ingredient is going to be cinnamon, but chunks. So little chunks of cinnamon, and let's just say we have 1 ounce of chunks in the kit here. And the cost for the chunks is definitely a lot cheaper than the sticks. So it is about 93 cents worth. I'm just gonna go ahead and type a bunch of these in here. So we have, okay, so these are all configured a little bit differently. Allspice would be chunks. And I'm just gonna run down through the sheet real quick, put the prices in here, and then we'll get the quantities in here. So let's just put some quantities in here. So the total ingredients cost for this kit is about $3.03. And if we just stopped right there, we would say, all right, we could sell this for $6 or $7 and make quite a bit of money on it, right? We'd more than double what we have in it, but we have more in it than that because it's in a container. The container has a logo on it. This one doesn't have it on it, but before I send these out, I put a shrink wrap on all these so they're tamper proof and they don't come apart during shipping. So we're gonna have to add all that in as well. I'm gonna change this next box to label. I buy the labels, the front and the back. I buy them from the same supplier. I have them printed at a print shop, and they cost me 12.5 cents per side, roughly. So I'm just gonna say front plus back, and then I'm gonna say 1. And then I kind of screwed up here because I made this dollars per ounce, but because this doesn't necessarily apply here, but you get the idea. It's quantity and then the price. So it says 0.25. All right, so it's going to cost me 25 cents for the labels. I have the tin here, and it is a 4-ounce tin. Let's change this back to price per unit. I shouldn't have done that. The 98 cents here. All right, and then the last thing here is going to be a shrink band. So let's just pop that in here. It is a 135 by 40 shrink band, 5 cents. Okay, now $4.31. At this point, we might be thinking, wow, we could sell this for $9, more than double our money, and make a pretty good profit on this. But how does all this stuff come together in this tin? We have to pay for the labor. And to do that, we're going to hire an employee. We're going to name the employee's name is Jimmy. And to figure out how much labor to add into this, we first need an hourly rate. So let's just say Jimmy works for $15 an hour. And we need to figure out how long it takes Jimmy to put this stuff together. To do that, you wouldn't want to just guess. You would want to start a timer, get out all the ingredients, get out all the tins, lay it all out, package it all together. Once you're done, stop the timer, and then figure out how many minutes or hours it took to produce each one. So we're just going to say this takes 3 minutes per kit at a cost of 75 cents. We're not done yet, though. We have to ship this to whoever buys it once they order it. So we need a value for the mailer. That's going to be 35 cents. We need to assign the value to whoever pulls the product off the shelf, puts it in the mailer, seals it up, and puts a label on it. How long does that take them to do that? That's, again, a function of employee and minutes. You could use this section up here to calculate that. I am actually just going to assign a value of $1 for that down here. So this is international shipping costs here. So this here is not where we would enter the shipping cost to the customer. The customer shipping cost is down here. I'll just explain what this is real quickly. If you are having a product that's made overseas, right? You are importing that product. You're going to have a product cost for that product, which you would put in this section up here. And then you're going to have an international shipping fee. So like a container fee from, let's just say, Asia to the United States. You would add your shipping cost here. Your international customs fees. We have tariffs are a really big thing as of right now. This is early 2025. If you buy anything from any part of the world outside of the United States, you're going to be paying a minimum of 10% tariff. You would add that here. If you are having to pay to finance your inventory. So you don't have the money to buy all of your inventory up front. You are paying for that with a credit card. You would add the financing percentage to this line. Let's just get the shipping here and I'll explain the other two. The shipping cost for this item to the customer is about $4.43, okay? We are offering free shipping to the customer for this product, but it's actually not free because I have to pay $4.43 to ship it. I can't just eat that cost because at that point, I'm going to be underpricing my item and not making any money or potentially even losing money. And then we have also a credit card processing fee. I'll show you how that works here in just a second. And then we also have a credit card transaction fee. Say you are selling this item on Shopify. Every Shopify account has a different credit card processing fee percentage and then a different transaction fee. Let's just say you have the very, like the beginner, you're gonna be paying 30 cents for every transaction and at least 3.5% probably on average for your credit card processing. Any additional labor that you have something weird came up and this batch of inventory was higher per item to make or anything like that, you could add that in this line here. But your total for the additional fees here so far are $6.08. That brings our total cost up to $11.14. However, like I said, we haven't yet added in the credit card processing fee because that is a fee that gets charged to you based on the price of the item. Let's just say we're going to sell this thing for $15. What happens? We hardly make any money and we have a pretty poor margin. We have only a 22% margin. We're going to need to charge more than that. And then let's just come up here. The credit card processing fee you can see did populate here. So we're going to need to raise this up. So let's try $18. Oops. Oh, now you can see I made a mistake there. I tried to change the adjusted sell price. That is actually based on the discounts here, which I'll show you in a second, and it gave me an error. Thankfully, it did because I don't want to adjust that. This is what I want to be adjusting here. So let's just say $18. All right, we're only at 34% margin, $20. All right, there we go. We have hit the minimum of what I would say you should be shooting for as a product seller, 40% margin. That's pretty much the standard minimum that you would want to sell something for. Notice that it's now yellow. This box here is yellow. If we were to change this to 19, did it again. If we were to change this to 19, that drops down to 37.8%, and this box is red. What happens if we change this to $25? Oh my gosh, keep doing that. $25. All right, this is a green. So this is a great margin. If you have 100% plus markup, you've got a margin of 50%. You're doing really well. In this example here, we're selling direct to consumer. So we're looking for anywhere from a 40 to a 50% margin. So let's just change our base sell price here to 21. Let's just go $19.99. There we go. That sounds like a really good price to me. And we've got a gross margin of 40%. I'm happy with that. All right, and let's back up here 1 second because I should mention something else. Let's drill down on the shipping here a little bit. If you want to just charge for shipping at checkout, you would enter 0 for this amount. You have a crazy margin here. Let's just say we charge $14.99. All right, that's a 50% margin right there. And then you can add shipping in after the fact. That, is probably a more palatable price to the customer, $14.99 versus the $9.99. And then when we get to the checkout, they added, $4 and some cents for shipping. Sometimes that just doesn't register to people. Other times that does make a person pause and they will what's called abandon the cart. This is a decision you have to make on your own. Probably just test it. I like to wrap shipping into everything, so I'm going to keep this $4.43 here. I'm going to charge the $19.99, and then I'm going to stick with this 40% margin. So we have a profit of $8.15 per unit, and then the markup is 68%. Like I said, gross margin 40%. Here is the last box in the sheet. This is the sale or promotional discount. Really important to pay attention to this. Say you do like a 10% discount on this product. That drops the margin pretty significantly. We're now down into the red zone, and you need to be paying attention to this kind of thing, because if you have a product with a margin that's right on the threshold, like right at 40%, and you are wanting to, be consistently doing discounts, say like 10%, or sometimes people even do more, at that point you would want to kind of reassess. You would probably want to start with a higher margin, so then you could drop it down to something that's not unreasonably or dangerously low. If you're only going to be doing discounts, say like a couple times a year, Black Friday or something like that, or you're using it as maybe like a loss leader to get people in to add more stuff to the cart, it might be okay. But you have to be aware of that. If you were to just want to do just like a standard, like, oh, you buy one and you get $1 off, then you would enter that here. Like I said, you can download the sheet at solidstrat.co, which is our website. Again, I use this sheet almost daily, and I have been doing so for the last almost 15 years now. This by far is the most valuable analytical tool that I have and that I have used to run and grow my business. So if you're thinking about starting a business and you want to know how to price your products, or if you are already running a business and you're not sure that your margins are where they need to be, go to our website, solidstrat.co, and download the sheet. Also, we're going to be adding a bunch of other tools here in the future, stuff that would be very helpful for someone who's looking to start a business, or someone who already owns a business and is looking to grow it, and a lot of stuff for content creators, because marketing is another really important area that business owners need to focus on. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you on the next one.